Now, one thing that's going to happen, well, it may happen in your constituency, is a big new housing development, the Highsted Park development. It's got, shall we say, quite extreme reactions in lots of areas. What's your view on it?
I'm strongly opposed to the Highsted Park development. And I say that recognising that, of course, we need housing, and we know that there's a real pressure on housing. And I have constituents who really want to live in this area, for instance, moving out of the family home, and can't afford to because of the need and the pressures on housing and house prices that go with that. But the problem with the Highsted Park development is 8,400 new homes, which is clearly a huge number. If you think of that in population terms, that you're going to have two people on average, a bit more sometimes, per house. So you could be looking at around 20,000 extra people moving into that area. In other parts of my constituency, there are also some really huge developments planned. So just overall, this area is taking a lot of new housing, and the Highsted development will come on top of agricultural land, some wonderful orchards, and really high quality land and beautiful countryside in an area that there isn't currently the infrastructure to support a population of that size, which even if it's built will be very expensive. So I'm opposed to that development on that and many other grounds. I could go on.
The affordability is one of the things that my listeners are talking about, because now, and I may have got the wrong information here, but I understood that about 10% of such a development should be affordable housing, and then the figure I then heard was something like 3%. So the affordable housing went down from about 800 to 300. So again, as you say, it might be a nice part of the country, but people won't be able to afford to live there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not the expert on some of the planning details because the planning decisions are usually made by our local council, and local councillors are real experts on this. For instance, I looked to Councillor Julian Speed, who's been working very hard on the campaign on this, on those kind of questions. And now, as your listeners will probably know, the decision was referred to the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, and she will ultimately make the decision after the public inquiry gives her a recommendation. But on the affordability, I mean, one of the challenges is because it's a greenfield site, it's kind of all brand new, the developer will have to pay for all the new infrastructure. And as part of it is promising a new motorway junction, which sounds useful, however, is very, very expensive. And that means that they're less likely to commit to significant amounts of affordable housing because they say we can't afford to do that because that's in essence subsidised because we're spending so much money on the infrastructure that needs to come with the development. So that's one of the problems with a greenfield development as opposed to building in towns, or actually, what I'd like to see is more building in London. Or in London, I've just seen today in the news that there's a London hospital that's closing its maternity unit because so few babies are being born in that area, because you haven't got the kind of population growth and families living in London. People are moving out. Well, what London should be doing is building for its population.
And of course, there's a lot of speculative empty housing in London, isn't there, that has been built speculatively and is lying dormant.
There'll be some of that. I don't think that it's the whole answer in terms of volume, and you'll always get periods where property will be empty between one person and another if it's being sold, or between tenants. So I don't think we can just say, oh, well, property that's not being used will solve the housing challenge. But what I do know is that there are opportunities to build on brownfield sites or build more densely in urban areas. And actually that has advantages, for instance, that people then are more likely to be able to use public transport in urban areas. And one of the problems with the Highsted development is it'll be very car dependent. It won't have a train station serving it. People will have to travel to Sittingbourne or Teynham to use the train, for instance. So that's going to really impact the traffic. So, no, all in all, a pretty bad idea.
Okay, let's move on from that. And one